If I were to ask you what an instant classic video game was, I think pretty much everybody would have their own answer to that question. For me, anyways, growing up, the ones that I think of the most vividly are like Minecraft and Skyrim, and even like GTA 5. For some reason, I have a really vivid memory of when New Super Mario Bros. Wii came out, for some reason. But as I got older, my tastes changed and the way that I look at video games changed. I definitely haven't fallen out of love with games like Minecraft or Skyrim, but when I personally think of an instant classic video game that is really truly, in my opinion, a masterpiece, the one that comes to mind right away is Spider-Man PS4. In all honesty, I have completed Spider-Man PS4 like 3 times before this, but this game was one of the biggest inspirations for me starting this channel, so I knew I had to make a video on it eventually. If you've never seen this series before, my name is the Mr. Bison, and I do a series that I call the 100, where it is my intention to complete 100 different games over however long that might take me, and I rate them on a scale from 0 to 100, hence the name the 100. In order to actually complete the game, there are a few things that we're going to have to do to get there. First of all, we're going to have to actually complete the story, obviously. Second of all, we will have to collect all the collectibles. And third, there are 51 achievements on the PlayStation that we will have to complete for the main game. This video is only going to cover the main game. I will not be doing any of the DLC in this video. There's enough DLC that I think it warrants doing another small video on. If you guys would like to see something like that, let me know and I can absolutely make that happen. Definitely something I'd like to do in the future. Without further ado, let's get into completing this game. As I said, the first thing that we're going to have to do is actually complete the story, and we're going to knock out a whole bunch of the collectibles while we're doing that. Before we actually get started here, there's a couple things I want to go over. First of all, I'm playing on the hardest difficulty. I thought that was an important part of actually 100% completing the game. Second of all, there is a whole bunch of collectibles we're going to have to get. First of all, of course, being the suits. Then we're going to have to collect all of the tokens in the game, of which there are several. There are the base tokens, there are crime tokens, there are landmark tokens, backpack tokens, research tokens, and I call them Taskmaster tokens. I don't actually remember what they're called, but you can get those from a variety of different things, most of which being collectibles around the city, but side missions and occasional little things also give you tokens here and there. The story of Spider-Man PS4 is not anything super crazy in terms of how Spider-Man stories go, but that doesn't take anything away from it. I like the story quite a bit. It follows a pretty well done will they won't they between MJ and Peter. It also shows quite nicely Aunt May and her involvement with Feast, as well as how that kind of ties into some of the villains in the game without, giving away too much. If you haven't played it by now, go play it. It also introduces you to Miles Morales, which, of course, if you don't know, segues into the Miles Morales game as well as Spider-Man 2. I think it's handled very well, quite elegantly, and it's just a very good Spider-Man story at the end of the day. I am deliberately trying not to show that much of the story because realistically this is one of my favorite games of all time, and I heavily, heavily recommend that if you have not played it, please go play it, experience it for yourself. So this story, the segment about the story is not going to be super long. It's going to be pretty concise. My overall thoughts and feelings on it, like I said, I like it quite a bit. I like MJ. I like the way that they handle Aunt May. I like the way that they handle Peter's relationships with all of the villains outside of him just as Spider-Man. But with that being said, we are going to move on to the collectibles in just a minute here. As far as collectibles go, the first ones that I did, they're not really collectibles, but the first thing I did was I went to all of the security towers on top of the police stations and activated them so that I had the whole map activated. Pretty much right after that, within the first chapter of the game, I went through and collected all the backpacks just to get it out of the way because I thought that it would make my life easier in the future, and I think it did. Pretty similarly, I did basically the same thing for all of the landmark pictures from around the city. After I collected all the security towers, I went and took pictures of all the major landmarks and got all those tokens out of the way. I wanted to do that because I knew that there was going to be the secret photos I would have to take later, and I just thought that this would make it a little bit easier. The next thing I tried to focus on were the crimes. As you go throughout the game, you can fight different crimes throughout the city. Starting off, the only thing you can do are the civilian crimes. Then as the story progresses, you can do demon crimes and Silver Sable crimes, as well as convict crimes that escape from the raft. There are also hideouts that you can take on. There are Wilson Fisk hideouts, Martin Lee hideouts, and Silver Sable hideouts, as well as the gangs from the raft, the same ones as you can do the crimes for. but they're just like little submissions where you have to go and take out all the guys that inhabit the hideouts, and those are pretty fun. I kind of, I took those on as they came up throughout the game, as well as the crimes. I tried to get them out of the way as early as possible, because the first time I ever played this game, I left them all till the very end, and then I just had to go search for them, and that was terrible. In a similar vein to the hideouts, there are other missions that pop up throughout the game, some of which are for Taskmaster, another for Black Cat, and then another set of missions for a minor villain called Screwball, each of which has their own separate little sub-story that goes along with it, and I tried to knock those out, as well as some of the other side missions out throughout the game as they came up. By the end of the game, all I had left to do was take on the final mission of the game, and I had a few more sub-objectives left to do. I think I had about 4 achievements left to go at this point as well. So just so we're all on the same page, at this point I had completed all of the backpacks, all of the landmarks, I had completed all of the enemy bases, all the Taskmaster missions, all the Black Cat missions, all the Screwball missions. The only things I had left to do were collect a couple of suits, do maybe 1 or 2 side missions. I had to maybe clean up a couple of citizen crimes here and there, and I had to complete a couple of objectives, a lot of which were tied into getting the last couple of suits and whatnot. As far as suits go, collecting them all is pretty straightforward. For most of them, all you have to do is get to a certain level and have all of the tokens you need in order to purchase it, and then you'll have your suit. But there are some that I'd like to talk about that are pretty interesting. One being the dark suit that you get from completing all of Black Cat's missions. There's also the anti-Ox suit that I like a lot, that you get for completing the main story. And then there's also the ESU suit that you get for taking all the secret photos. By this point, with almost all of the suits collected, I had completed just about everything in the main city. I had 100% completed all the districts. There was only a couple of things I needed to do that regarded achievements, one of which was I had to go to Ben Parker's grave in the New York City graveyard and, pay respects. And then also I had to go back to Doc Ock's lab, and I had to actually complete all of the optional research segments. With that stuff out of the way, I only had 1 achievement left to go, which was to complete the main story. I had collected every single suit in the game, and obviously the only thing left I had to do was actually finish and complete the story. So, by the time everything was all said and done, I had collected roughly 530 different tokens from events all around the city, 30 different suits, 51 trophies, and I had spent about 41 hours playing the game. Alright, so as far as my feelings on the game, obviously I've said, some of my feelings on it. Obviously I really like the game. That's something I've said since we started this. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Of course, I would recommend that you go and play it. I apologize for this video being so short. I mean, it was a little bit of a variation from what I normally do, at least the way that I approached making the video. We still got to give it a rating. Like I said, we're going to do that here in a second. I just would like to talk about the fact that obviously this video was a little shorter, and I apologize for that. I work all the time in the summer. I don't have a lot of time to make these videos, and I don't make any money from these videos, obviously, so I can't dedicate a ton of time to them when I'm making most of my money for the year. In the summer, the way that I do, if you'd like to like and subscribe and, do all those things, maybe we can get to the point where I don't have to, take 8 months in between videos, as terrible as that is. But, with that being said, I am going to go ahead and give this game a rating now, and we'll get this thing wrapped up. So, that part of the video has finally arrived. Without further ado, the rating that I would give to Marvel's Spider-Man on the PS4 is a 93. Of course, at this point, I would like to thank you for watching this far, making it through the whole video. If you did, that's awesome. I would really appreciate it if you check out some of my other stuff. My Lego Star Wars video was a really fun one, as well as the Subnautica video. Those are 2 of my best ones, in my opinion. They were a lot of fun to record, and they've done well, so clearly some people like them. If you'd like to see more videos like this, like I said, make sure you like and subscribe. Next up on the list of games I'm going to complete, it's going to be Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. After that, I've got 2 options that I'm looking at. I'm looking at starting the Batman Arkham series, or I could do the Long Dark, but it's up to you guys in the comments. Let me know what you want to do. If you don't let me know, I'll just pick what I want to do. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.